Hello, my name is Aaron, and I'm here with Nurture Family to encourage us around some truths about Christian marriages. There are three basic things that all healthy, gospel-centered Christian marriages embody, and that is these marriages give the advantage to their spouse, they anticipate the needs of their spouse, and they also believe the best. And so we start with giving the advantage. We always want to be in a position of humility and service to our spouse and be able to give the advantage. We have in 2 Corinthians 5:21 states, "For our sake he made himself to be sin, who knew no sin, so that in him we might become the righteousness of God." Our model is always Christ in our marriages. And Christ gave the advantage by putting on the cloak of sin for our benefit. How that looks like in marriage is giving up the right to have the last word. Giving that ability to, when you want your way, to don't fight to have your way. Be able to be peaceable. Find a way to take 2%, as Ken Sande talks in his book, Godly Peacemaker. Take your 2% ownership of an argument or disagreement. Find a way to give the advantage so that your spouse can see Christ's love in their life. Second fundamental truth is anticipate the needs. Matthew 6:21 tells us that Jesus informed the disciples that he would be killed and would be raised on the third day. Wow. Jesus already knew ahead of time that he would die and rise on the third day for the benefit of those in the world and sinners of all mankind. And so because of that, we have an example of God's breath in us and leading of the Spirit to be able to anticipate the needs of our spouse. That could be making coffee in the morning. That could be putting toothpaste on a toothbrush for your spouse in the morning. It could be just creating space to just talk when you know your spouse had a busy day or a big project coming up, or taking responsibility off of them, like watching the kids or doing different things around the house so that they can work on this big assignment that they have coming up. Anticipating that need, and even sexually. Being able to know that, hey, I'm sensing that this probably around that time where we need to connect physically and anticipate that need. It all breathes the breath of, hey, Christ sees me and I'm grateful as a spouse for what Christ has done for me in these areas, so I'm going to pay it forward and do it for my spouse. Lastly, believe in the best. Romans 5:8 states, "But God shows his love for us in that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us." And so Christ, even though he knew we were sinners, still believed the best in us. We have a heavenly Father that sees the best in us. Even when we turn away from him, he still turns to us, always chasing us down. And hopefully from a place of just acknowledging just the grace that we have received or you have received as a spouse, you can now believe the best in your spouse. There may be an argument and they come off sharp or say something mean or cross a boundary or take a jab and do things to get under your skin and push your buttons. Or they could just be cold and turning off and not being responsive to you physically or just not being responsive to you emotionally. The thought is speak to that behavior, but we also want to believe the best, that, hey, the weapons of our warfare are not carnal, they're spiritual. So potentially there's something going on in my spouse's life. And my first thought is I need to cover them in prayer. I need to check in with them to see how they're doing, so that I can continue to make sure that I'm not letting an inroad in for the enemy. By always believing the best in the midst of any given situation, you have the opportunity to be the peacemaker in your home and be that individual who exudes the love of Christ and the grace of Christ and the obedience of Christ in your marriage at all times. Anticipating the need, believing the best, and giving the advantage. Whenever things are not going right in your marriage, I can guarantee you that you individually are not excelling in one or multiple areas of those three.